All right, we are once again rolling, and this time everyone is being recorded.
All right, should we start over?
Yes.
Welcome to the Virtue Signal podcast. Please make some noise for your host, the brilliant Dr. Eleanor Russell.
Hello, everyone. I'm Eleanor Russell. Welcome back to Virtue Signal. I'm joined again by my lovely co-host Taylor Meanswell and Andre Kello.
Yay.
And we are fortunate to have a special guest in Jake Flores.
Good to be here.
Hey, Jake. So we are going to talk about Euphoria this week upon your suggestion.
But first, I need to address the Association of Federal, County, and Municipal Employees.
Mm-hmm.
Your time will come. Listen, I'm as pro-union as they come, but I'm also a third worldist. And I have been having some customer service interactions with a mid-level government employee who works from home, and I am not happy with their tone. All right. And living as we do in a city with a large democratic machine, you basically just can buy these jobs anyways.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just want all of you to know that death to America, caca.
Mm-hmm.
I'm happy for you that you managed to get a job with pay and benefits, but I would do a lot to instill a sense of public service back in these employees.
Yeah.
Is it my place to say that you're functionally PMC despite having union membership? Well, no. Am I saying it anyways? Yes.
Okay.
I am sick and tired of accepting less from my city services, including the Chicago Transportation Association.
Taylor's going to go after CTU next. Watch out, we're going to get death threats.
The attack of CTU from the left would be extremely unpopular. Yes,
it would.
Yes, it would.
Yeah.
Their president sends their kid to private school.
Yeah.
Crazy. Anyways.
Yeah. No,
thank you for letting me kind of virtue signal to start off.
Thank you so much, Taylor. So, Euphoria, Jake, tell me about Euphoria. Why did you want to talk about it for this show? What about it is interesting? Tell me.
I think Death to America is a great way to start a podcast about Euphoria, given how it ends. I don't want to spoil. I'm gonna have to spoil it. If anyone hasn't seen it, sorry, spoilers.
Yeah.
Because we really have to talk about the ending. Ending is really important to it.
Mm-hmm.
But the reason I've been really fixated on this show, I think, is because it exposes some interesting contradictions in the way people consume media, in my opinion. The show is one thing, but the discourse around it is a whole other to me. And it did something really interesting. It operated on this nexus that this overlap, this intersection between cool, edgy drug culture and social conservatism, fear mongering. That you see this come up every now and then. Sometimes a bad person, like a Christian, makes a really good drug show or a really good sex show or something, and people
Jack Chick, when he would do the Chick tracks, some of that stuff was actually pretty cool and awesome.
Yeah, some of those are you look at it and you're I think he wants this cartoon devil to look bad, but I want to get a tattoo of it. It's cool, you know?
Yeah.
This happened a few years ago with there was a documentary about spring break and about spring break culture and rape culture and stuff like that. And because it was about rape culture and fucked up sex shit and patriarchy, people liked it and it got a lot of traffic because it looked like it was a leftist thing, right? It looks like a feminist thing, right? And then if you did some digging, it was actually about or it was actually funded by far right, tiny evangelical creepy dark money church people.
That reminds me when that show Dollhouse came out and I was and people were like, it's actually feminist. And I was like, there's no fucking way this is feminist. Are you serious? And it was like, this was like first woke wave, right? So I was like, okay, I'll, maybe no, it's not. Like, it's just not. They're just some things that just aren't. Yeah. That's interesting.
Yeah. And like, so the far right often poses as feminists in order to villainize like people on the other sides of borders and stuff like that, because they will make stuff that is like they'll do a lot. So like, okay, so
Judith
like
Butler wrote about this.
yeah, hell yeah. ICE, right, is a good place to start with this, right? If you look into how ICE,
Ask me, members, Association of Federal County Municipal Employees.
yeah, union members, unfortunately. The ICE does a lot of propaganda, like to the people that buy into supporting ICE and the idea that we need secure borders. The way they sell that isn't that they hate brown people and that they, think they all fucking deserve to live in an economically devastated place. It's a lot of it is that they're protecting us from human trafficking, and that
God.
there is.
Yeah.
And so it's presented as we care about women because women are being targeted by these conveniently brown people on the other side of this border. And but the positivist part of it is like, this is about, protecting women's rights and stuff like that. So like Euphoria, I clocked it pretty quick when I was watching it because it's a teen drug drama. And but I noticed when it was first out, I mean, I caught onto it like probably in the middle of the first season and was immediately hooked. I was like, this is so fun to watch. It's really well written. The like cinematography is so good. That was one of the things that people noticed about it immediately, was like all the bisexual lighting thing and all that stuff. I'm sorry, like it was just fucking fire. Like if you don't like this show, I'm sorry, you're just wrong about the cinematography at least.
Yeah.
Right. And it was like really, I really liked it, and then it went through these two first seasons, and I kind of had a moment where I was like, I know what's going to happen with this show, and I'm a controversial Twitter account, as you probably know, right? So I get into it with like large mobs of people all the time, and I called what I think was correct, having seen the third season, which is that this show is going to be like right-wing propaganda, specifically centering around sex work, I think. And I think I'm going to defend my point here in that the third season is about these scary borders and brown people and stuff. And the entire thrust of the show is like, if your kid smokes a joint, they might end up being human trafficked as a sex worker.
And then they try to rescue that narrative, I think, by making it in the end this like thing about Coleman Domingo and Zendaya. They're like, okay, so we know we've been depicting like, the Wild West and like these like brothels as like these black spaces and Mexican spaces, but our heroes are still Zendaya and Coleman Domingo, right? So they try to sort of rescue it, and it kind of doesn't really work, I think.
Yeah, and it's weird. It's kind of disjointed, and it's bizarre because your brain doesn't really know what to do with the fact that you're watching something that you're like, intellectually this is kind of bad, cinematically it's really good, story wise it's like both good and bad. And that's the other thing I wanted to talk about, because I feel like my grand opinion of like media, honestly, at this point where we're at in the world, is I think we're conditioned to think about media in a really, really fundamentally incorrect way. And I think what I would argue is, there's this great House of Decline cartoon where
oh my god, huge fan.
It's like, yeah, House is great. It's about somebody who's watching like YouTube videos of like leftist media stuff, and the frame that she draws it as a guy, and the title of his video is "The Secret Marxism of Space Jam," right?
Yeah.
And like, there's this tendency to moralize on and politicize media and go, if I liked something, then it was Marxist, and if I didn't like it, then it was conservative.
Yeah.
And I think the reason that is because, as leftists, we all probably have some understanding that we are materially really dislocated from the levers of power in society. We're alienated, right? That's a big Marxist concept. uh but we still have minds and lives that are kind of evolved to like think that we're affecting things. So because we have no real power and all we really do is consume things, I think that people put way too much of a premium on the things they consume as meaning something about them
this
and also
is
doing something, and they don't, neither of those things, right? I mean, maybe it means something, but it doesn't necessarily mean
No,
you're like a bad
this
person if you like, propaganda. Like if you like watching cop movies, that doesn't mean you support
no,
cops.
no,
It
no.
means
And it's
you're
also like this is as like a longtime SVU lover. Yeah, no,
yeah.
I think that people think that that's only true for like sex or like porn or whatever, but actually there's all kinds of like libidinal interests we have in the things that we watch that like I like this. I used to watch this show called The Good Witch, which was like a Hallmark show. I loved it because nothing happened. And what would happen is the mayor would make a decision about the town of Middleton, and then they would get who's a fat lady, and then they would get upset with her for making a decision about changing the name of the park, and then they wouldn't change the name of the park, and that was the end of the episode. And I loved it. I watched it during COVID. It was like it was like nothing. It was like I can't imagine this is even like who writes this. It was I don't know. So there's just like little energies that I think we need to fill and attend to. And you're right, like because of like mimetic culture in the sense that what we consume is who we are because we can't do anything else. It's a really problematic thing. Like I feel like I really loved the Odyssey, and like do I think it was like did I think that it was like the most historically correct Greek thing I've ever seen in my life? No, but that doesn't fucking matter. It's a fucking spectacle. It's a movie. It's fine. Oh wow, you enjoyed the spectacle? Oh no, how dare you? Like it's just ridiculous to me.
Yeah, it's artifice. And like as a comic, I think that this is something that occurred to me in a really big way at a point in my like career doing stand up and stuff like that. And just my interrogation of what funny shit kind of is like at some point you have to break with this idea that the things you laugh at, for example, mean something about you in a way that is indictable, right? Because A, either they don't mean anything, or B, they do show you something about yourself that you need to accept. It's like okay to tickle that fucking nerve every now and then, because it doesn't mean like art is not, you're not a computer, right? Like you were fucking raised and shaped by a society that is racist, that is misogynistic, that is homophobic, that is classist, and all these things. And like you're gonna have stuff in you that is shaped by that, and it's actually okay. Like it's fine to laugh at a fucked up joke.
I have to cut you off here. It is never okay to laugh at anything.
That's true.
This is why I never do it. It is always evidence that you haven't listened enough. If you're laughing, it's because you haven't found the thing that you need to pedantically take seriously.
So true, King. So true.
It is in there, and if you work hard, you can find it.
What I like to do is I like to go to comedy shows and ask the comic when he or she is performing, "Hey, what do you mean by that?" After every joke. That's how I do it. Yeah. Yeah. That's kind of advice.
What do you
Obviously,
mean by R-worded faggot?
I
Tease
how
that out a
you
little bit for
Let's
me.
unpack that.
bleeped out one of those and not the other.
There really should
there's
be
a politics implicit in what I just did. I will acknowledge that.
There ought to be a kind of Quaker meeting after each stand-up show where everybody sits in the seat that they were in during the show, and they're looking around at each other, and we say, let's go line by line and figure it out.
Yes.
All right? This is a puzzle, and we can solve it.
You just described graduate school. Like that is literally what graduate school is. Yeah.
That is what a lot of comedy shows in like Brooklyn are like, honestly. And in like the more alt part of scenes, like you find yourself as a comic sometimes becoming this weird centrist where you're like, I hate the right-wing chuds, but also when I go watch the super woke shows, people are like snapping instead of laughing, and every joke is like an affirmation and stuff.
Right.
And
Like Goodfeld, they're actually like telling jokes. At least they take the form of jokes. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, all comedy is wrong. All comedians should be in jail. Most of it's bad, right? We all agree on these things, I'm sure. But like, that people that only use.
Comics.
I'm sorry.
I said like no prison except for comedians.
Yeah, exactly. That's the asterisk at the end of the abolitionist thing. But like, if people that only use comedy as a barometer for finding their way in the world often end up with really bad politics derived from it because they notice what we just discussed, like the pedantic nature of the left leaning stuff, the right stuff sucks for obvious reasons, but then they sort of tend to go right because they're like they're just going off of like, well, this stuff isn't funny. When people over politicize stuff, they're not funny. The right wing over libidinalizes stuff, and it is often funny. Like that's the thing that I find myself as a comic telling people a lot. There's a very popular left wing, like leftist take that like right wing people aren't funny.
Oh no, it's
and
not true. I wrote about
it's not
this.
true.
I wrote about this. You can read it. It's about Donald Trump and how he's funny and why he's funny and how it's really important.
Well,
to
the
his
guy,
power.
the guy who invented stand-up comedians.
Yeah. Well, okay. So this is
Frank
up for
Fay.
debate. Yes, Frank Fay. So who has the biggest dick in Hollywood? Barbara Stanwyck, because she's married to Frank Fay. Yeah. But that's also under debate because Cliff Nesteroff, whom I don't really like because I think he wears stupid outfits. And also I want his job. He was saying that actually he thinks it's Native Americans. It's a Native American convention.
The Chautauqua.
But then what about West Africa with the
Griot.
with the griot? So I don't know. They all seem to sort of tie back to some sort of shamanic person who is allowed to speak as themselves to a group of people.
We just saw in the Odyssey, Travis Scott stands up on a table and starts really, hitting them with the A material.
We were trying to think. I asked Andre yesterday. I was like, who would be the funniest person to cast in that role as like which rapper? And I think we decided Eminem would be the funniest. I think that would be really good.
All right, so I think I know definitively why this phenomenon that you're describing about the relationship that people have to moralism when it comes to comedy. I think I understand why it's happening, and we can solve it, and then we never have to bring it up again. This is great.
Okay.
What a wonderful opportunity.
Okay,
oh,
go for it. Wait. Like, share, subscribe real quick. You're about to...
Okay. So, beginning of the 20th century, there's a French philosopher named
Henri Bergson.
Yes. Oh, you know where I'm going with this. Bergson writes an essay called Laughter, and in Laughter, he describes the thing that makes people laugh is not what Freud had said, which is that there is this sort of release of a unconscious tension about an anxiety that people have.
Yeah, the mind is a piston. There's too much gas in it. I've read that book.
But instead what's going on is that people have a kind of unspoken assumption about humanity as being infinite and incomprehensible and unknowable, and that there is something sort of universal and limitless within the person that makes a human being special and worthy of, preserving and paying attention to and helping and, connecting with other people and things like that. And that, in fact, that's an illusion, and that human beings are animals and machines and piles of literal shit and blood.
Something mechanical encrusted on the living is what the comic exposes.
Right. And so if a person makes a joke and people laugh, then the thing that they've pointed out is a deficiency of humanity.
It's also literally the definition of a performative in like speech act theory, like that laughter that makes known a truth that was prior suppressed. Yeah.
And so in that way, the laughter creates the thing, which is the fact that a thing that we assumed was infinite and unknowable and beautiful and universal and worth preserving is actually mechanical and animalistic and a joke.
Right. It's like whenever they put like beautiful women in like romantic comedies, like the way they get to, like, oh, well, she'll shit on the toilet. That's funny. Like Jenny McCarthy did those commercials in like the 90s and early 2000s where she was like, for Heart Candy, I think, where she's just like, oh, she's a beautiful woman on the toilet. Ha. Ha.
Right. It reveals that this thing that was like holy or like pristine, which was this
just elevated
feminine beauty, is actually brought down back to the physical reality, the materialist reality.
Got you.
Yeah, she's filled with shit. Every woman, every man, every person that you meet, every child or old person, they're all filled with organs and shit and blood.
Organs, dimensions, affections.
Right.
And so, as the stand-in for our stupid, dumb listener, you're saying that there's this ideal of femininity that is presented in, say, a piece of media, right? And then it is rendered to be, as you said, mechanical,
revealed to be mechanical and like contrived.
And
Yeah.
the mechanism through which you reveal that contrition is by being like, actually, girls fart.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So like,
Okay.
I mean,
The machinery of your organs is evidence that you as a person are not made in the shape of God, but are in fact just a monkey that learned a good trick.
it's like when you're like trying to have an argument with somebody, but you have the hiccups, you know? So it's just like, okay.
And what is the debate that occurs between the left and the right on the internet or elsewhere except a debate over who and what is human? Who deserves to have human rights? Who deserves to be given the right to vote? Who deserves to be, free and safe? And
Right, which ties back to Jake's point about protection, because it's always like these guys are like, well, I want to protect women, and it's like, no, you're the ones we need protecting from. It's like when Sheridan Gorman was a Loyola student who was murdered in our neighborhood, and all of the fucking Rogers Park, I think I talked about this in the past, the Rogers Park Facebook groups were all just like, oh, well, we got to protect these women, blah, 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 and it's like, you just want to punish. You just want to punish the person. You just want to punish brown people.
well, this is what Judith Butler
They
was
were
saying.
calling for the death penalty in those
fucking
comment
ridiculous.
sections.
When back in 2000 and I guess it was 2007 when Judith Butler was giving these speeches that eventually became her book, it was about this like talking out of two sides of your mouth thing that the right does about the Middle East and about Muslim countries and about their modernity, right? Like at what point can we, intervene to impose a modernity in order to like rescue these poor women and gay people and etc. And what we're denying these people is their literal humanity, right? Their ability to determine for themselves what their values are and how they live their lives. But instead infantilizing them by imposing our own modernity upon them.
Yeah.
And using the guise of feminism as a way to strip these people of their...
The guise of feminism is like a
That's a good
That'd be a great
podcast
name for a
name.
podcast.
the
yeah.
guise of feminism.
New boys chat name
It's
dropped.
like the boys of summer, but the guise of feminism.
The male gaze.
Yeah, and it's
Male gaze, male gaze, male gaze.
Buffalo, buffalo, buffalo. Okay.
and so that's when we're arguing with each other about whether or not something is funny, what we're really arguing is about to what extent are any of us human beings.
Yeah, at the limit, right? I think that's a really good way to put it because, like, so with comedy, right? I think with the kind of pedantic, like alt left, like alt comedy left wing comedy shows that are not funny, I'm describing. What they're doing is they're telling you a lie, which is that they've come up with a piece of art that would only be possible to really find very funny if you're shaped perfectly and you have no limits to you are like made in the image of God, right? And there's that comic is standing on stage telling you this is what I find funny, and that's why people call it bullshit. They go, no, you're human like us, fuck
Yeah.
you.
Well,
The
that's
right wing, what they do is that they take what they do find funny, but it's usually like an angry white guy, and he tells you what the limits of his mechanical being finds funny, and they are funny to him and to other guys like that, and they're often very common in base humor. But the mistake they make is that they argue that that thing is objectively funny and not subjectively funny, and they sort of like fall into right-wing politics really well because they argue for an objective reality. Like no, everyone's lying.
You know, it's the same impulse. It's the same impulse as when people, whenever they talk about like a movie or a performance in a film affecting them, they're always like, oh, like he didn't know she actually would like Jack Nicholson acted in real time, or no, sorry, Wendy from The Shining didn't know that Jack Nicholson was going to do that, so her performance was natural, and so it like makes people feel comfortable that they're like enjoying a performance given by somebody. I think that people get very uncomfortable about performance and about the idea that someone's like putting you on, and so they try to like essentialize it and be like, oh, but actually she wasn't acting; she was actually responding to something happening in reality, and that makes you feel better about liking it. Yeah.
Yeah, I was always an interesting one to me because Shelley Duvall, she's a great actress, and like those arguments often undermine the fact that she's an incredible performer.
She is.
Like,
yeah. Or was RIP.
yeah. But anyways, let's get
Yeah,
back
she
to how
fell
this all plays into Euphoria, huh? Because that's what we came here to talk about. So, I think it's a really interesting artifact in that yeah, because of these like unresolved quandaries people have about consuming media and what it means about you and stuff, people undeniably responded to it, liked it, felt something from it, and then like there's kind of this thing that happened at some point, especially when you get to the third season, which is kind of what I want to focus on, where people figured out that it was like politically bad and then would say things like, "Oh, I never liked it,"
Yeah.
or they'd say it got bad right at the precise moment that they figured out that it had bad politics and stuff like that. Like, "Oh, the third season it fell off or whatever." And it's kind of been the same mess the whole time, and it's been the same mixture of things, and like it's about addiction. So when you get into that, that raises all these interesting moral and political like
I was
questions that
crazy about Coleman Domingo's monologue at the end of the show about like where he like reminds us that this is about addiction.
Right, because the rest of the third season isn't about addiction.
Yeah, exactly.
well, there's some stuff that's about addiction there. First of all, okay, so in order to understand what I think it's like about, we've talked about this. I don't know if everyone's familiar. I don't know if everyone who watched the show is familiar, but Euphoria is an adaptation, or it's a remake of an Israeli TV show, which I feel like a lot of people didn't notice or didn't clock or didn't notice the significance of because it started before October 7th, which, you know, we're politics freaks, I'm sure. We all knew Israel was evil and stuff. But, you know, a lot of people that are like kind of not as keyed in or are nowadays Palestine flag on everything or whatever, you know, maybe weren't paying attention and didn't catch wouldn't have noticed at the beginning of this, like why that's really important, right? But like, I've seen the Israeli TV show. It's crazy. It's like it was fun. It was weird. It reminded me a lot of Kids because it was like with the Larry Clark movie because it was like hyper real and like shot kind of low quality and stuff. And it's a little bit more surreal in some ways, although Euphoria does kind of get there eventually. But there's like a lot of the same stuff. Like there's like a girl that does cam stuff, but she's like talking to somebody in China a lot. They keep talking to these people in China on the show. I can't really figure out why. They're like buying weird experimental drugs from them. The drug dealer guy in the show does brain surgery on his own head at one point to try to make himself more confident so that the main character will like him.
That's
like it's
like
fucking crazy.
Ted, who's that guy who wrote Exhalations? Ted Chiang. That's like a Ted Chiang story. That's crazy.
Interesting.
Yeah, or it's like a robot operating on themselves. But anyway, yeah, that's super cool. I also was like thinking about how like Labyrinth does a lot of heavy lifting, I feel like, structurally for the show to like key you into how to feel about things that are happening with the music, like solos, like it's like, you know, it's like that the vocal that Denzaya has at the end of the first season, you know, and they just bring that back a lot, the melody.
What is Labyrinth?
Labyrinth is the guy who does the music for the show.
I see. Okay.
Yeah, his name is Labyrinth. I actually was a fan of him before I was a fan of this show. I really like the music on this show. I think it's really beautiful.
Yeah,
Labyrinth
it's well done. I
was
mean,
inspired
Hans
by
Zimmer is involved at one point.
Labyrinth was inspired by the network of bomb shelters in Tel Aviv.
Nice.
Now, I happen to know that they are not connected to one another, and that you do have to go to street level in order to get from one to the other.
Interesting.
All right. So
how do you know that?
It's like the Fulton Street subway.
well, yeah, I watched a film about it, Labyrinth, with David Bowie.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I see. Yeah, the baby. You have to go get the baby. So Israel, right? Like what?
So Israel, right?
So you got a show in Israel that's about, you know, like it's who's it for? Well, it probably is something you discover if you're a teenager and you're like, oh my God, I found this crazy fucked up fucking movie about how kids do drugs. They're just like us, right? But it's probably functionally maybe for like parents to scare them. I don't know. Or it's just a reflection of like those anxieties that happen. These like drug movies like Requiem for a Dream, even though I don't know, I like Hubert Selby, but like the function that they kind of have, the thing that they reflect, I think is kind of like fear about, you know, like some impending moral disaster of society. Old people always think like, oh my God, the kids, they're not like we were. They're doing all these, they're huffing things and smoking and snorting things. Their society's going to fall apart immediately. And that is always paired, or that's often paired with a border. And Israel has a pretty famous border, right, with brown people on the other side of it. American Euphoria is set in Southern California. There's also a pretty famous border here with brown people on the other side of it. And I think that's really the key to unlocking all the anxieties about human trafficking and stuff.
I think that the show synthesizes. I mean, it does feel like you were saying, like kids, and in that way, there are antecedents, there are comps, right? But for me, it feels like a synthesis of two things that are pretty toothless that people were already pretty familiar with. The one is the teen soap opera, teen melodrama. I was talking with Eleanor yesterday about A Summer Place. The 50s movie that was about teenagers having sex, and their like parents are having an affair with each other, and so like
it's like upstairs downstairs, but for like parents' kids.
And we've had this sort of teen melodrama on and off since the 60s. Of all of them, the one that this show reminded me the most of was Beverly Hills 90210. And that mixed with another phenomenon from the early 90s, which is Blossom, which is a show where every episode is a special episode. Right? The TV show where every episode is a very special episode was a 90s, early 90s phenomenon. Yeah. And, they have them in Canada, right? Degrassi is this. And then also, something like Dinosaurs, for example, right? Where, you want to be topical, but you also want to be entertaining. So, you're going back and forth constantly in the sort of MASH milieu of switching between doing bits and getting serious, And I think that Euphoria does this, right? It does the, truck whistle key change gear shift between this is the part that's dumb and funny, and this is the part that's serious and important. And if it has an innovation, it's probably just that it's like Degrassi, but with full frontal nudity in it.
Yeah. You do see cock and balls in this show, which I commend. I think that's always a good choice. They should do it more.
Yeah.
Did you reference Dinosaurs? The I'm the baby.
That's the one, right? The Sinclairs.
Okay,
that's correct.
The Sinclairs. Yes, the Sinclairs.
Right. The Jim Henson TV series about a family of dinosaurs,
which I watched, and for some reason I thought it was like a long running show, but it wasn't, and I just remembered having to have watched it when I was very young at my babysitter's house.
Yeah, it only appeared briefly, but it really etched itself into the millennial mind.
Oh yeah. Wait, Jake, how old are you?
I'm about to turn 40
Nice.
in a few months.
Good job.
Thanks. Good job.
I actually thought we could have done an entire episode just about Sydney Sweeney, like in line with the way that we did an earlier episode on the show about Britney Spears, because I think there's a lot of similarities there, where like your sort of persona that you've actively cultivated takes on a life of its own in this sort of like parasocial nightmare world.
She's like the hot girl Venom.
She is the hot girl Venom. Yeah. And I also, I think Sydney Sweeney's a really good actress. My favorite character on the show, though, however, has got to be Maddie Perez, who did nothing wrong. I love Maddie Perez. She's never done anything wrong in her life. I think that I love it when she picks fights with Nate over nothing. I'm like, oh, that's so, it's a little misogynistic, but also, extremely real. Yeah, that's okay. Do you have a favorite character? What's, a favorite, element?
Yeah, Maddie's great. Love a Latino with a bad attitude, Sydney Sweeney, I think, is an actress, rather, to what you just said. She kind of reminds me of, the guy who played Joffrey on Game of Thrones, where, threw shit at him in the street because they hated his character so much. And he had to be like, I'm an actor. Although she's also, as a person, saying some pretty wild stuff. I'm not really sure what her deal is.
She's just from Ohio or something? I think she's just sort of, I don't know if she's actually MAGA. I think she's just, from Ohio and knows people from Ohio. I don't know.
Yeah, I can't. I've been arguing about this with my friends, actually, honestly, for some time, because we're all obsessed with the show. But a conclusion I've come to, I'm not 100% sure, is she might just be dumb, which you're allowed to be, right?
She's an actor. I think she is, and I think that if we all admitted that, the discourse would stop, and we can't have that happen.
Right.
So
yeah, she might have bad politics, but they might be unintentional in a way, which is different from her being really into MAGA or whatever.
Being dumb is a very important part of being a good and successful actor.
Unfortunately, this is true.
Because
fortunately, this is true.
If you're capable of doing good acting and you're not dumb, it drives you crazy. And so only
Andre's a really good actor.
Only the dumb people are protected.
Or they become Ben Affleck, and yeah, he's miserable.
Yeah, he's a suicidal, alcoholic, depressed person. He's as messed up as
None of
a
us
person
have
can be.
fumbled J-Lo once, let alone multiple times. We don't know what our poise
Now,
would be
Jennifer
after that.
Lopez is a great example. A very dumb person who is completely unbothered by being talented at acting. Has always been great at acting, and it has never had a negative effect on her life at all.
Yeah.
What you're describing kind of happens in the third season with Sydney Sweeney when she gets to act and she's good, kind of, and then they go like backfires on what's her face on Lexi. But interesting. Okay, I'm gonna put a pin in something real quick. But to answer your question, I guess my favorite characters, like from because to me there's two sections of this, or season 1 and 2, and then there's the third thing, which is like a action movie, kind of different. Of the kids in season 1, honestly, no, you know what? My two favorite characters are, I think my favorite character from the first part is Cal, Nate's closeted dad, because
Great performance by Eric Dane.
R.I.P.
I know, R.I.P.
Really looking
his
forward to the
characters.
documentary that's coming out on Thursday, 2 days from now, where we see all of this unreleased interview footage of Eric Dane, where he talks about what it was like working on the show.
Watch the shit out of that.
Interesting. Okay.
Wow. And I think my favorite character from the third season is Bishop, the right-hand man to Alamo.
I love that guy. He's such a Tarantino character, I think.
He's really cool. It's like pretty much confirmed that a lot of what was going on, especially in the third season, is them just being really into Cowboy Bebop, the anime, which if you've never seen it, it's one of the greatest things of all time.
Yeah, but
like,
you can skip the live action Netflix show. They really shit the bed there. That was terrible.
it was pretty bad. I didn't mind it because I'm of the mind that things like that don't undo the original, but like, it was weird. It didn't make any sense. But like, his afro is like a fucking direct reference, I think, to that show. His like kind of whole nature. There's a scene where he throws a stack of $100 bills across the room, and it like it's exactly something from Cowboy Bebop, where like somebody shoots it in midair or whatever. He's just like a really good, intense character, and also the big reveal at kind of the last episode or whatever, or the final thing he does is like extremely redeeming, which I find cool.
Yeah, that was awesome. I love that they gave him that role, but also it makes sense. It's also like dramaturgically it works, like the bishop would make the saving grace choice at the end.
Right, because it's a chessboard and he's a bishop.
Yeah. Exactly.
So you just said something a minute ago that reminded, we were talking about acting and like the curse of having like a brain if you're a performer, and addiction and drug novels and stuff like that. I just read Permanent Midnight. Have y'all ever heard of that?
I've not read that.
No, yeah,
I haven't
very
read
familiar.
It, but I know it.
Yes.
It's
about
it's
his
like,
experience writing for Alf, right?
Yeah, well, that's in there, but it's mainly it's this comedy writer who was very successful,
Jerry Stahl.
They made a movie about him with Ben Stiller. That's right. Yeah.
Ben Stiller, another guy, a smart guy who went from acting to becoming a director because acting sucks. And Zendaya is in the process of doing the exact same thing right now.
That makes sense. She's a great actress, though. She should still act. But like, it's about it's a drug novel. This guy Jerry Stahl was a comedy writer, and he wrote on Alf. But he did a number of other things. That's kind of like his thing that he made all his money off of. He was making a ton of money writing on Alf. But this novel is there's barely ever any scenes that are in the writing room. Like, it's mostly about how fucked uply addicted to heroin he was. And you kind of get a sense that he was tortured by being too smart for this job of writing a puppet sitcom thing, but he was good at it, which if you it's a curse, right? If you're not able to release yourself. And like with drugs, I mean, there are people that self-medicate because
you need to turn your brain off.
Yeah, and it won't turn off, and people get
I mean, that the monologue that Colin Domingo gives, with someone who has like substance abuse issues of my own, he's talking about. He's like, "What do you do when this is the only thing that makes you happy?" And it's like, fuck. Like, I don't know what I'm going to do if this is the only thing that makes me happy. You know what I mean?
Well, this is, I think, an issue in general with the whole concept of like sobriety as an answer to people's problems.
My brother is more miserable than he has ever been, and he is vegan and sober.
Well, okay, like one of the things you get from Euphoria specifically is this idea that addiction and any kind of addictive behavior is a solution to a problem. Not a good solution. In fact, maybe the worst solution, but a solution to a real problem, right? And you have all these people with all these problems in their lives, and they keep doing these things that they shouldn't be doing because of their emotions that they have about the problem in their life. And then, Rue gets clean,
Yeah.
but doesn't solve the problem that caused her to want to use in the first place. And so her life never gets any better.
The phenomenon of like being a dry drunk, they call him, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I have a lot of affection for Rue as a character, especially as like a mentally ill child. Like I really liked that. I thought her relationship with her mother was really heartbreaking. It was like one of those things where like being a mom, it's weird because it's like I'm able to like relate to the mom and like see how like devastating it is to see your child in this state. Like if you've ever seen Beautiful Boy, because that movie fucked me up. And then also really relate and understand Rue as like, and I thought that the show could have been about just that even. But the thing is, like Andre and you were saying, Jake, like it's a mishmash of so many different things. So it's like you kind of talk about it forever.
Yeah, but I don't think that's like a problem. I think it's a pretty big story.
Yeah,
So like,
that's true.
and things intersect with each other. But the strength of it, I would say, is that it is a really honest rumination on like addiction, which frankly is a mysterious part of life. Like I think that everyone tends to come at stuff like this as if it's all figured out, and
yeah.
like we do the Marxism of Space Jam stuff with this, and want to go like, no, the left has this figured out, and the right, but like it's a part of life that everyone's going to take a stab at like this. And like the strength of it is that I think that it flips it over and tosses it around and looks at it in a lot of different ways. And unfortunately, it comes to the wrong conclusion. And I think that it could have come to the right conclusion. And that's why it's so stupid to like look at these things and go, it's a left-wing thing, it's a right-wing thing. Oh, no, he has bad politics, therefore it's bad. He could have, guys, clearly through the process of making this show, Sam Levinson is coming up with opinions and stuff. He's doing like a dialectical process. It could have flipped over and ended up being something that actually is smart, but the ending is very conservative. But the process, that doesn't mean the process that got him there doesn't have value in it, I guess.
I
and
agree.
like,
Yeah.
I think so the character that Solomon what's his face played, Ali, he's great. He's another one of the best characters in the show, I think. And like there's an episode with him. So one of the weird things about this show, this being one of the most popular TV shows ever, is that there's two secret episodes that like they got released as specials, and they're very unintuitive to find in the HBO app.
The Rue
lot
special
of people,
and the Hunter Schafer special.
yeah, the Jewel special. They're two bottle episodes, right? Which is
Wait
like
a second.
So there's 2 episodes of the show you haven't seen.
Okay. I haven't seen them either. It's okay.
Oh my gosh.
yeah.
Okay.
No, that's why I'm bringing this up. A lot of people have loved this show and have not seen them, and like they're some of the best things they've done. They're bottle episodes, right? So they happen in between season 1 and season 2, and they take place largely in the same setting, which is what a bottle episode is, right?
Does the Jules one do anything to like? I thought they did her dirty at the end. I did not like that she's just living in this fucking married guy's house. Like I was just like, she's like a
Sam
gilded
Levinson,
cage.
it is on site. Do you understand?
I am also like the last season also just became kind of a fashion show. Like everyone's just like showing up in these incredible outfits. Like, oh my God, there's this jacket that Maddie wears when she's like, like a businesswoman. It's so beautiful. Oh my God.
From what I understand, now correct me if I'm wrong, this is how I learned about how I think generally people were surprised when season 3 happened. Right? Because everybody on the show became a giant movie star.
Yeah.
And so
Or died.
or died.
R.I.P. Fezco, R.I.P.
Yeah. The assumption, I think, after the end of season 2 was, well, that was crazy. That's nuts. Man, they're never going to make another season of that show. Woof. And then they do. And you're like, well, how did that happen? And the answer is that Sam Levinson goes and he sits down with with HBO and also with each of the brand new movie stars that he carved out of marble himself with his bare hands. And he says to them, what would you like for me to do? And then they gave him a list, and he executed
Do you
it.
know this for a fact, or are you speculating?
This seems to be based on what people have said about the meetings that he had before they started writing season 3, was that people, like specifically Zendaya, Sydney Sweeney, uh,
Jacob Elordi.
Jacob Elordi, and the network all had an enormous amount of notes about what they wanted out of the new season.
So then Sydney Sweeney's like, hey, I'm dealing with this parasocial nightmare. I kind of want to work through that in the show. So they do that. Nate Jacobs is like, Jacob Elordi's like, okay, I want to be a leading man. Set me up for that. Make me some sort of tragic hero. So they do that, kind of. And then for Zendaya, she becomes a gangster, I guess.
Well, each
Or
one of
cowboy.
them, like, yes, Zendaya, from the reporting in Variety, indicated a broad interest in doing a kind of Vince Gilligan TV show, kind of a thing.
That's first episode. First thing I thought was this looks like a Vince Gilligan show.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you shoot something in New Mexico, it's going to
Yeah.
look that way.
Yeah.
And so I think that the third season does, in that way, feel a little bit episodic. You know, like Hunter Schafer says, I would very much like to look really nice.
I would like to wear beautiful gowns, please.
Yes.
Which they accommodated.
Yes. Zendaya says, I want to be Walter White. Okay, we can make that happen. Sydney Sweeney and Jacob Elordi say, we want to show off how good we are at acting. And so they do. They have a kind of crime-oriented, marriage melodrama.
Oh my god, the wedding. I loved the wedding scene.
Oh yeah, the wedding was so good.
Fucking love that. Also, like, I was like, Sydney Sweeney should have like reacted more. Like, oh my god.
I think it was actually probably a good thing that Sam Levinson was backed into having to accommodate all of this like laundry list of plot points, even if the result was something that didn't feel terribly coherent, because it forced him to throw in the trash his
bullshit.
his interests.
Yeah, I think that's
Because you get his agenda at the very end when it ends on God and Texas and Christianity and like
which is just like okay, Barry Levinson's son. Like, right?
Now Barry Levinson, Sam's dad, has made some stuff that I really like in my life. I'm a big fan of his film Toys, where Robin Williams
I remember that movie.
tries to stop corporations from forcing children to play war video games. You didn't win that one. Sorry. Call of Duty, very successful, and we ended up going to a lot of war. So sorry about that one. But Diner is the Barry Levinson that feels to me the most like Euphoria. Not just because it's about young people trying to get their dicks wet. It is also a show that is shot in a way where the beauty of its visuals sort of undermines or contrapposto to the like Philip Roth, like juvenile masturbatory sense of humor that drives the plot, right? And that I feel like is the big aesthetic dynamic of Euphoria, right? It's so pretty and so like 14 years old.
Right, but what you're describing also is like in the 14 years oldness of it, and like it sounds like how you and I were talking the other day about the show Cape Fear being functionally a giallo in the sense that nothing plot wise is off the table. Isn't that kind of true for Euphoria too?
I think there's actually an enormous amount that's off the table for Euphoria because it has to fulfill this like teen melodrama role. And so, there are a lot of things they could never do. Like you could never have Rue do jury duty.
Yeah.
It's just, it's not thrilling, or, nobody's going to take their top off. So it's just not going to provide the audience with anything that'll keep them from, turning it off and never turning it on again. That is the danger with a show like this. If you do one episode that is talky and boring and grown up in a way that alienates the audience, that's it. They're gone forever because they have nothing invested in the lives of these people.
Wait, Andre, can I ask you a quick question that's separate from this, and then we can go back? What do you think of Jules's paintings? Because Andre is the art expert here.
Not great.
Why did she paint Rue in hell at the end?
That was funny.
I liked that
I
detail.
like the ones with all the dicks. That was my favorite. That
was a
Sharon
good one,
Stone
yeah.
didn't like. But my favorite line that I laughed the hardest at throughout in the whole season, actually, the whole series, actually, is in the third season of Sharon Stone, where she's talking to Maud Apatow, my former student, and Sydney Sweeney, and she's like, "Look, we're bringing families together." I don't know, it just made me laugh really hard.
Sharon Stone's always been funny.
She's great. I love Sharon.
She's
Stone.
very funny.
Yeah. Okay. So Andre, sorry, I just wanted to ask about the paintings because I was like, I actually genuinely don't know because I don't really know anything about paintings.
Well, I think that now it's difficult in general to look at figurative painting specifically and say that it's anything other than something that you are making because you don't like paintings.
Yeah, we don't. This podcast, generally speaking, is anti-painting. I don't know. That's just sort of been a running thread. We're against painting.
Yeah. Well, you can't really like paintings without being against them.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, because they haven't made a good one in a very long time.
Yeah.
Me emailing the CTA earlier today.
Okay. So, in terms of like the departure that season 3, which really does, you're right, I think, Jake, that it feels more like a movie than a TV show. Do you think they could possibly do it? It'll never happen, but if they did a 4th season of Euphoria, what would it
No,
look
the
like?
4th season, they'd all be like 30 at this point.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh
it
my
was-
god, practically
No,
dead.
there's a piece of art that you like very much that illustrates the exact path that they would take,
What?
which
A
is
Year in the Life?
Carousel.
Oh. Wait, wow, what do you mean? The music, he's talking about the musical Carousel.
Rue comes back in order to provide a direction for her kid sister.
Oh, yeah.
That's how you would do it. Rue comes back as like reincarnated as somebody else or as like her dog or something. And Zendaya only has to do the voiceover. So, you record the whole thing in an afternoon in Burbank.
Yeah.
Zendaya never has to sit in a makeup chair. Everybody's happy.
Zendaya's got the best job in the world because she can do voiceovers without opening her mouth all the way. She just
Yeah.
can kind of like.
Oh, I love. Actually, that's a
No
thing.
disrespect.
I think
I
that
was-
she's probably been put off ever since that whole Zendaya is Michi thing. Like, because in the future, anytime she plays
What is that?
What is that?
What is Michi?
you didn't know
It was-
that Zendaya
it's-
is Michi?
What is Michi?
I know that Zendaya is Michi, by the way.
What are you talking
I know
about?
that you
Are you
know,
guys having a
Jake.
stroke?
Oh, Jesus Christ. I hate men.
There was an animated cartoon film, and it was a kind of a disaster. And each character got a character poster, and it has their name and the name of the character they play. And so there was plastered all over America at a certain point posters on every bus stop and on the side of every fire station that says Zendaya is Michi, as if that's something that you need to know.
Okay. Thank you for explaining that.
There was like a TikTok where a guy was like singing as he walked along the street somewhere.
Zendaya
and
is Michi.
yeah, he's narrating what he sees and he comes along to, and Zendaya is Michi, and for some reason that just became an
Is that like-
earworm. Or
Oh, I kind of vaguely remember that a little bit. Yeah. But go back to the mouth thing. I love the way her performance is oriented around her mouth and whether or not it's like open or closed. Like, is she paying attention? Is she like slack jawed? Like, what's going on? I love that. That was so real. I love it when she smiles in the last episode. They make her look so childlike. I think because they make her smile a lot.
Well, they go out of their way in a lot of things that Zendaya is in to make it look like she isn't as tall as she is.
Yeah, she's tall. She should have hooped.
She's very tall, and John Leguizamo was on the red carpet for the Odyssey, and he's standing next to Zendaya, and Zendaya is towering
Yeah.
over John
She's
Leguizamo.
taller than Tom Holland too.
She's a very tall person.
Yeah.
But
Really?
in each thing, the struggle of blocking and framing for Zendaya is always, how do we make these tiny men
Yeah.
that we always cast against Zendaya look like they're taller than her? Like, how do we make Tom Holland look taller? How do we make Timothée Chalamet look taller than Zendaya? None of these people are taller than her,
That was
but we
not
have
a
to.
problem for the drama, though. This is their second Zendaya thing.
Yeah, because they're sitting down and drinking wine the whole movie.
But also Robert Pattinson is tall, so.
Yeah. But I think he also likewise doesn't like to be tall.
Oh yeah, he's one of those guys who's like really handsome, like Don Draper, who like disidentifies with being alive. I love it. I love it when like really attractive people are just fucking miserable. It's great. It's like I always had a friend, like I wasn't like a popular kid in school, but I always had a popular kid friend because there's always like some popular kid, some girl who's like really beautiful and just sort of fell in with the popular group, but like hates it and is miserable. And I was always friends with that girl. Her name was always Lindsay, and we were always besties. Yeah. That's all I have to say about that. Robert Pattinson's like a Lindsay to me.
Well, I think that they were lucky to have, some tall people on the show. I think tallness is a thing that in TV is treated very differently from in films. Because in TV, I think, like, there's this sorting, right? There's TV actors and movie actors, right?
That line is getting blurrier by the day, but yeah.
Well, yeah. Everybody's just desperate to find something that they can do. I think that traditionally tallness was a thing for movie actors because you needed to shoot them from farther away in order to put them in, say, a landscape or some beautiful set. But in TV is about the close-up. In TV, it doesn't matter if you're tall, right? It doesn't come up. So, Jacob Elordi is incredibly tall and is totally wasted on the show, right? And then I think that's why the third season shoots him the way that they do, where he's seemingly only in wide shots.
Yeah.
And I think it's to show off how tall he is, because they're like, this is our last chance. We have to get every penny of tall out of this guy.
I'm seeing like in my head right now, there's a shot of him standing against that horrible yellow wall on the staircase in their house. And
God, it's such an ugly house.
Oh my God, it's the ugliest house I've ever
he's
seen.
a construction guy.
Yeah. Oh my God. I love it when he's like freaking out about those flowers. That was great. I love that.
Well, it's a McMansion, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Shout out to Kate Wagner.
Well, I think this is one of the things that they actually do really expertly on the show, which is that it's a beautifully shot show of ugly places.
Oh, well, that's like my favorite like Southern Gothic, Western Gothic kind of thing. I love that.
Well, I think it's relatively easy to make some decrepit barn or, gas station in Tijuana look cool because these are like complex, strange places that are unique in the world. It's much harder to create that kind of cinematic style of beauty in a McMansion, right? Or in a strip mall or in a Los Angeles high school. Right. These are places that are deliberately constructed in order to be visually nothing. I think that the show does this largely with color, which is one of the reasons that it's so, so much of a pleasure to spend your time staring at. Right. Like Netflix, from what I understand, tells their creators, don't put anything important on the screen because people are on their phone.
Yeah.
And this is a show where an enormous amount of important stuff is on the screen.
Yeah.
Titties.
Yes, exactly. Titties and cock and balls.
Okay. Well, I think I'd like to take my turn now, if that's all right.
Please. Yes. What
So, if we back up a little bit to the origin of Euphoria, it came out at a very specific time and place that a lot of people aren't really ready to revisit yet. But we'll tread lightly upon that ground, right? This is post George Floyd summer. This is in between the first and second round of vaccine, right? This time period where we've gone stir crazy.
Yeah.
Right. January 6th is around the same time, actually, which, third eye's wide open. I was the first and only trans woman to have ever worked at the public high school where I was working. And the most popular image of a trans woman, representation, you could call it, we'll get into representation, was at the time Hunter Schafer's Jules. Right. And so there was this strange dynamic.
White trans women, right? White trans women. Hunter Schafer is the like... Or is that true for just in general?
I think because she was, I say that because she was the most well known.
Oh, I see.
Because she was like, the kids were not into liver and cocks. And And so I just remember walking around all day thinking, like, watching Euphoria and being like, and this, maybe this says something about me, I'm sure it does, being like, do these kids think this is who I am?
Mm-hmm.
And with time,
You
I've
are
come to
nothing like
care.
Joel
No, of course. But like, it's so I think of that when I was engaging with the third season. I thought about, you know, the transition from what gets called high wokeness into Trump 2, right? And the fact that Euphoria is more or less the same in both of those contexts is, I think, telling. If you went back and made a pie chart of the hour or so that we've been talking, how much of it is dedicated to the actual plot of the show, right?
Not much.
This is almost, as a piece of media, just kind of, this is a strange hot take, I guess, but it's almost like morally neutral. And it instead prompts the audience to project their values onto it. Jake alluded to this at the beginning of our conversation. I'm watching another show right now about narco politics and sex trafficking, right?
What is it?
Called Twin Peaks: The Return.
Oh, okay.
And there is to me a moral stance being taken in Twin Peaks: The Return that is not being taken in Euphoria. It's not as though Euphoria is taking the opposite stance as Twin Peaks. It's that Euphoria is declining to take a stance, right? I just think that this show proves the shortcomings of like representation politics. I think also I want to talk about, okay, I made a note about this. I want to talk about Jacob Elordi, Nate and Cassie in season 3, because there's just so much I see virtue signaling going on. We know that between season 2 and 3 of Euphoria, Sydney Sweeney developed a whole 100 flowers bloomed in the world of Sydney Sweeney discourse. And sometimes I've gotten the impression, like in those two characters' plot lines, that they are just sort of looking at the camera and winking at the worst people in the world.
I think that watching Sydney Sweeney in that diaper dog outfit thing was like kind of blackpilling for me a little bit. I was just like, this is not okay. Like, what are we doing here? But like maybe she was in on, I don't know. Sounds like she was in on it, but that was a little bit like, not like my second wave feminist that lives inside of me was thinking about that.
I don't think you have to worry about Sydney Sweeney being exploited. That is not what can happen in the world any longer.
Okay.
All right. This is a person who just recently had a giant smash hit movie, The Housemaid.
Yeah.
Right. Like, also, Anyone But You and The Housemaid, her only 2 box office successes.
Right. She did that boxing movie.
Well, Chrissy.
Yeah, you tried watching it, I think. Right?
Ugh.
Yeah. Awful.
Unbearable. And also,
The Housemaid was also really bad.
I didn't like that film either, but it made a lot of money, and the only films that she's ever made that made money were Anyone But You and The Housemaid, which both have a vastly majority woman audience.
Yeah, that is really interesting that her audience seems to be, in terms of like box office stuff, mostly women. That is really
I
interesting.
think that Sydney Sweeney is aware of this, and she's furthermore aware that this poses a problem to her as a person who primarily makes her income off of various deals and sponsorships and scams that exploit a male audience. And so if she's going to have any kind of like, powerful cultural moment that, reaches out and connects with this male audience, it's not going to happen in the movies because men don't go to those movies.
Yeah.
She tried on several occasions to titillate and entice the male audience with her films, and that didn't happen. It didn't work. People didn't go. So the TV show's the only option she had. It wouldn't shock me at all if the whole, dressing up as a dog in a skimpy outfit for the internet plot line was her idea.
Yeah. It's very Nomi Malone of her, I think.
Well, and it's about the downward mobility of the white middle class,
Yeah.
sorry to be
No.
like this, but
No,
I
but
am,
no, it
right?
literally is though. Yeah.
How much you mentioned the flowers conversation, how much emphasis is placed on artifice and appearance in their relationship, right? Like, how are you going to be in debt and have a Cybertruck?
I was kind of in awe. I didn't really like Cassie Howard that much as a character until then she's like, no, I'm gonna go make the money myself for the flowers. I was just like, oh, she would, Mrs. Dalloway would go and make the money for flowers herself.
Well, and what does the show, as you mentioned, offer as the only solution for anything, right? It's either like do drugs or sell your body.
Either exploit yourself or exploit someone else. In that way, it's a lot like the show Cape Fear as well, in the sense that everybody is a con artist and a predator. And it's just like, it's not predator versus prey, it's predator versus predator,
Right.
Predator versus
Whoever
alien.
wins, we lose.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that that's probably a good way to describe Euphoria.
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, before I forgot, I just wanted to apologize to the listener for my voice. My boss made me swallow about a dozen balloons full of fentanyl.
Oh, yeah.
And so I am a little raspy.
Oh, never mind. I forgot to tell you who my favorite character is. And my favorite character is actually Faye. And I wish that they had done with, Faye is such a clown. Like when she's running around in those like heels and just like, she's so fucking funny. I wanted her to be like an actual comedy character. Mostly she was just sort of a joke instead of like an actual like comedy character. But I love her and I see so much potential in her. I would watch a show about her. Like,
Now,
I love Faye.
who plays Faye?
I have no idea.
You know, they never say it in the show, but you know what her last name is?
What?
Valentine, like from Cowboy Bebop.
Oh, okay.
Faye Valentine.
Sam Levinson, I am in your walls. I am coming to get you like no one has ever come to get anyone before.
Well, maybe this whole series has all just been Sam Levinson auditioning for a Samurai Champloo live-action Netflix show.
Played a long game. Spent a lot
I'd
of
watch
money.
it. I'm sure to have terrible politics, but
I
it would
will
probably
be
really
making my
pretty.
debut in that as the one who chops off his head after he does the seppuku.
Yeah, I really was kind of disgusted by how they did Jules dirty in the end. I was like, come on, really? Like Maddie's arc makes complete sense to me. Sydney Sweeney's arc also makes similar sense. Zendaya kind of. I don't see Jules as doing that. I feel like
Jewel, what happened to Jules doesn't really make any sense to anyone, I think. I haven't
Yeah.
met anyone that has a good like idea of what it meant that makes any sense. But I feel like with her, there's kind of a Shelley Duvall thing going on where
Yes.
like people, a lot of what you hear is that Sam Levinson did her really dirty because he has bad politics and therefore he's anti-trans people and stuff, which may be true to some point, although he hired her to
I
begin
find
with.
that hard to believe actually, but yeah.
Yeah, and Hunter Schafer is like an executive producer on the show. So I think that the theory here that these people wrote their own characters like denouements here, it makes way more sense
Yeah.
than
Now, when it comes to the burden of representation, now I hope that Taylor, you can tell us how you feel about trans narratives in cinema and television. Like how often do you feel like a trans woman's story is being dictated by some sort of a political discourse or a stereotype rather than, what appears to be a meaningful and valuable human drive?
Well, I hate to be reductive. I'm actually neutral about being reductive. I would ask which woman in Euphoria is not leveraged and exploited for her
Yeah.
X, Y, and Z. Right? I don't see Hunter Schafer being treated meaningfully differently.
Yeah.
In that sense,
Including Zendaya. Yeah.
I don't consider her to be like progressive representation necessarily, nor regressive. Like I said, I think the neutrality is in fact what defines Euphoria. Has Hunter Schafer's visibility and success made my life any better or easier? Only to the extent that I now get to see pictures of Hunter Schafer. So maybe I hope there's somebody else out there who disagrees and is like, no, Jules Vaughn saved my life, but I'm not seeing it personally. I thought it was cool how she pulled out a knife in that one episode.
Yeah, I like that part a lot. That was awesome.
That was badass.
Yeah. Yeah, do you have a favorite, sorry to be, I hope we're not like, do you have a favorite trans character that you like?
You know who was incredibly progressive for her time was Denise from Twin Peaks.
Yeah, well, there's
Yeah.
a reason people constantly go, yeah. Fix your hearts or die.
Fix
Yeah.
your heart, your die.
Well, and you know what struck me is, sorry to talk about a different franchise, but what struck me as most interesting about that moment, that scene, when I finally saw it, I'd seen the clips divorced from context for years. That's a scene where he's kind of mad at her. He's holding her accountable,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah, that context is important.
I
Yeah.
if I could take something from representation and say I wish the world was like this, I wish it was like that. I wish that there was a feeling that you can be like honest and firm with people.
Right, it's like that famous joke that someone has about Elliot Page, where it's like, oh, I hate that actor. I thought that once he became his true self, he'd get better at acting. But no, it's like that sort of like trans affirming hatred, you know, that should be found.
You know, the trans inclusive misogyny is well trodden ground.
Yeah.
And well, we'll have to have. Well, can we have a turf on?
Yeah, who do you want to have on?
I don't know.
That'd be fascinating.
know
I would
who
love
it
to have a
is.
turf on, actually.
I bet if we ask J.K. Rowling, she'll do it.
Yeah, definitely. She definitely.
Has she's allergic to shutting her stupid fucking mouth.
Oh God,
I bet we could. I bet if we started a coordinated harassment campaign, we could make ContraPoints a turf in 18 months.
Oh, I feel like people are already doing
and
that.
then have her on the podcast.
We can schedule out 18 months from now. Put the plan in place.
I don't think you're being ambitious enough. I think if we do a long enough record, then she'll be a turf by the end of it.
Are there like trans turfs that
I mean,
Feels like
what's
a
her
dark
face?
angel.
Also Brianna Wu.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, she's almost like I don't even really hate her anymore. I just think she's so pathetic. You know, it's just like
Yeah.
like she's just so unhappy, and it's just, I don't know. It's hard to like keep that hatred going for someone like that. You know what I mean?
I think it's okay to dunk on people who suck, even if they're unhappy.
No,
They should be unhappy.
I'm not saying
They
you shouldn't,
suck.
I'm not saying you shouldn't dunk on them. I'm just saying I have a hard time like keeping the rage alive. Whereas like other people, I'm like happy to be mad at all the time. Yeah.
I think you can't talk about representation without there being a lot of like respectability politics implied. And I don't really consider myself to be a good and impartial source on like the issue of respectability, because I feel in between two worlds in a lot of ways.
But also, like, this is the show where Virtue Signal, where the reason we started the show is because we're both perfect.
yeah.
Yeah. So I just want to, yeah. How do you?
Well, I don't want to make the listener feel bad about themselves.
Oh, fair. That's so good of you.
I'm pretty
The
happy
point,
to do
just
that.
to conclude that
Any
real
chance
quick,
I
though,
get.
just to wrap, my point is that like my stance on that tends to be pretty fluid, right? And highly subjective to like how safe and comfortable I feel in my own body in a given moment when stimulus is presented to me. And so as far as this is the pressure of representation, because now I feel like I have to like make a fucking statement, give a little sound bite that makes a nice little bow on that topic, so that
okay.
our listeners who are consuming media because it reifies their cultural politics can feel like they got value out of this.
Well, but that's the frisson. That's the spice in Euphoria, is that it demands that you take a moral stance because it is showing you, just like kids, and that was what put me off of it when I was watching the very first episode years ago. I didn't make it through the first
I
episode of
remember
the
that,
show
yeah.
because I was like, "What the? These are high school kids. What the fuck is this?" But then people say, "No, it's good," and then I go back and and then I watch the rest of it.
See, to me, the show is at its best, actually, for me. Like, the moments that resonate with me emotionally are when it's actually not asking you to make a moral stance and it's just asking you to empathize. Like, the scene that hit a little too close to home is when she's watching old comedy with her dying father. I
Mm.
was like, Jesus, sorry, we have to mention my dead dad every episode. It's important. Otherwise, he won't,
I
he
have
won't
to
stay
be a
in.
class reductionist. Eleanor has to bring up dad.
It's very important. So yeah, I mean, like that. So like moments like that, or like when the girls are just sort of like hanging out, like looking into each other's eyes, like queer girl friendships are so like intense, and the relationship between Zendaya and Jules in the beginning is so perfect for that. You know, I love the queer girl friendship stuff, which I guess is itself a political thing, but like it felt more experiential and less motivated.
Yeah, I mean, political can mean a million. It can mean
Yeah.
a few different things, and like there's a there's abstract politics, and then there's like personal stuff, and I think there's people sometimes separate those things, but like stories like this are really good for seeing the spectrum between them because you're talking about addiction and relationships and sexuality and stuff. And then there are these large looming questions in the background about borders and police and stuff like that.
You know,
Honestly, not a lot of police in this show for how many
yeah.
kids are doing drugs. I guess they're in the suburbs. So,
Yeah. Well, the character you said that we haven't actually talked about yet is that, and is someone that you know personally, you told me, Jake, is Lori. And I
yeah.
think she's a great example of that
Love
sort of
her.
border.
Yeah, let me tell you a little bit about Martha Kelly. So I was as surprised as anyone when Lori appeared. I guess I was more surprised because I know her when she appeared on the show as her like scary human trafficker, like Nazi lady character, because Lori's played by a woman named Martha Kelly, who's a comedian who I know from like doing stand up in like dive bars in front of like 10 people for the first part of my life before I like moved to New York and stuff.
She's
So
also
way back,
on the new season of Fallout, I believe.
yeah, she's on Fallout. She's on everything. It's so funny
She's incredibly talented.
because
She's great.
the funniest thing about what's happening here is that she is very sweet and is like her all of her jokes are about how like unedgy and like unthreatening and
But
normal
that's
she
Lori
is.
sort of gives that veneer off in her persona. That's what makes her successful, you know?
Yeah, it works so well. She's always talked in that monotone. And like the thing about her though, I mean, the reason I actually think her being cast in shit like this is like a kind of full circle genius move is that when you meet her, she's got this very like monotone kind of like thing. I think she worked with like Maria Bamford sometimes, but she was like no, but she was just a comic for a long time. But eventually, when you get to know her, she used to be a really big drunk and like like she should have a biography like she's like Slash or something like the way she used to consume alcohol and like was she's like in AA and stuff. She talked about this when she did like WTF for the first time, but she drank like 40s, this sweet middle-aged lady would like pound 40s like in the morning and stuff. And so like it's funny because
Ben Affleck comes up again.
there's like this interesting kind of like binary thing going on where you go like, oh, the one side of her reflects the other side of her, and like she's able to be a person who's very meek and play characters that are very scary because
This
she
is
speaks
a-
so few words and stuff.
A common theme throughout our show is that on Virtue Signal is that what makes a performer interesting is that it's like we talk about John Mulaney. Isn't it funny that I look like this when I feel like this? And that's what
Yeah.
a huge part of being a stand-up comedian is. So that's interesting that she has that background, and that kind of gets reflected back in the character too.
And
Totally.
she manages to make that character funny.
Yes.
And not
Very
just funny, like simultaneously unnerving and
When
funny.
Zendaya, I was like, Zendaya, the only time I ever was like, oh, Zendaya is actually diabolical is when she tells about the bird. And she's like, oh yeah, you know what she loves? That bird. And then I was like, Zendaya, you've crossed a bridge too far. Like, meanwhile, Zendaya has done horrible things for the whole series. But for me, that was like, oh shit. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, she hated Lori because
Yeah.
Lori was like the arch villain of the show. I guess until Alamo came along. But you know, an interesting thing though about them is like, so Martha, Lori, like I watched a little bit of like the after the credits thing on like the last episode, I think, where they're all kind of talking about like their big end of the production kind of thing, where it's all very emotional for them and stuff and sentimental. And first of all, this is unrelated, but something I think is hilarious is the guy who plays Alamo. When you hear
Simon
what he talks
Adebisi.
like in
Yeah.
real life,
Yeah.
he's it's got like a British accent.
Well, I think he's a Nigerian British guy. I know him from the show Lost, and before that, the show Oz, where he plays the most
Right.
psychotic person in the world.
Oz is a masterpiece.
Oz is amazing. So I'm just like, oh, that's Simon Adebisi. But he's great in this. He's great.
I didn't clock that he was Mr. Echo from Lost.
Yeah.
I've never seen Oz. I heard it's good. But he's kind of
love it. It's
bigger
great.
now.
Yeah.
Well, I think that the thing that I think that the young people enjoy about the show isn't the prurient, titillation, Sydney Sweeney having her breasts out, or Hunter Schafer having her breasts out, or various
People having their breasts out.
various members of the cast having penises visible and things like this. I think what it is that, and I got this from having a conversation with my students when I was teaching at Carthage College. Nobody there had ever seen a film,
Yeah.
and this was a film class, but nobody there had ever watched a movie before. But they had all watched all of Euphoria. And these were people who were in college, not having sex, not drinking, not doing drugs, like many people their age, the Puritans, right? The brand new phenomenon in the United States of America where young people don't like sex and drugs anymore. And I think that the thing that they get out of the show is the thing that like little 9-year-old Andre got from watching the like scrambled channel on TV at 1 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah. Skinamax.
That there is this like forbidden thing that I don't have access to that is supposedly grown up and extreme. And this is a way to have access to it through media.
It's similar to Romantasy, right? Where it's like, oh, is it spicy, and like, yeah, I think it's...
Yeah, but what force is keeping them away from sex and drugs?
It's the same thing that's doing it to people all over the world for the last several decades. It's people don't have the like force of energy for human life anymore.
Well, part of it is they've been surveilled and on camera their entire lives.
Yeah.
So
That is what I was going to get at. I have a friend who's got a 10-year-old kid, and I hear about Kid World from him through this all the time. And like, one of the things that blew my mind recently is that apparently they don't torrent anymore. They don't steal like movies off the internet.
They don't know how to use a file interface. They don't know how to use a desktop computer.
It's not that. It's not that. It's that they think if you do it and you get caught, you will be just written into the Epstein files and your entire life is ruined. They'll plant child pornography on you, all this like nightmare stuff because they grew up in a panopticon that we didn't grow up in. Or else I don't know how old you guys are.
There is hope. Okay, because my son recently, when he was back in May, when he was still in, he was
got
in
in very big trouble at school.
He was in third grade. He got in huge. I get a call from the school that he and another student. In fact, I think I know who the student was. Had hacked into their substitute teacher's computer, got into her Google Drive, and were like sending each other messages of like poop and pee jokes. And he got in huge trouble for this. I was like, okay, I came home and was like, hey, so what are you going to do in school today? Like when we had our big talk, and I was like, be a good listener. And I was like, what are you not going to do? He's like, hacking. I was like, good job. It was so funny. So there is hope. There's still like my little Bart Simpson is still out there, Yeah,
they never prepared us for this cyberpunk dystopia where no one knows how to use a computer.
Yeah.
Like it's all of the Ghost in the Shell shit. But no one has any idea how to open a PDF anymore. Nobody knows how to print things.
Yeah.
You say, oh, just open up the source on the website and look at the HTML, and then it'll what?
Yeah.
No one under the age of 30 has ever right-clicked anything.
Jake, you don't know this, but I pitched a piece of media for us to cover and was told, reasonably rightly so, that we should find somebody whose life experience is more aligned with what's portrayed in that piece of media. And I'm just wondering, if I suggest we do Ghost in the Shell, are you going to make me find a cyborg to be on the show?
Well, fortunately, we are all cyborgs now.
Yes.
Oh, Christ.
Yeah, thank goodness.
Yeah.
Wait, hold on. I don't understand what you just said. You pitched a piece of media.
I want to cover the Boondocks, which is one of my favorite pieces of comedy ever. And Andre and Eleanor raised the point. Maybe we should find an
I
But
African
then you also
American.
don't want to tokenize somebody. Be like, no, we're not gonna.
It is always weird when like a podcast is not of a group like that and then does a thing about it and you're like, why not listen to these guys talk about, a women's thing or something?
We just thought we'd have We just thought we'd have a podcaster on. That was the goal. Yeah. So that's how we tokenized you.
That's fair.
You'll get your token in the mail.
Thanks. As a podcaster.
Do you have anything else you'd like to chat about?
What are we doing next week?
Next week we are doing the book right here, Daryl by Jackie S. with the author James F. Howard, which I'm really excited about. Daryl is a sort of sequel to The Sluts, which is a book we covered earlier, but it's also very different.
You want to watch Taylor's position on respectability politics be fluid?
Yes.
Tune into that episode.
Oh, but speaking of Taylor, you have a show.
Oh, I'm so pissed, actually. That was the other reason I came in hot, is that I found out that my comedy show tomorrow got bumped for another comedy show.
It's fucking annoying.
I'm so upset.
Because it had been double booked by the venue.
Yeah.
And
That sucks.
but you had preceded the other one, like you had put in your request before.
In my opinion, yes. I thought we had said, the second and fourth. I didn't write down the exact dates of the second and fourth, so I guess maybe
I
was my
think you
mistake,
need
but
a producer.
I'm starting to see the limits of
DIY.
myself. Yeah.
Jake, do you have anything you would like to promote?
If you're in Los Angeles or more specifically like Long Beach, I'm doing a show in San Pedro with Ron Placone and Graham Elwood and some people like that on the 25th. That's this Friday. It's on my Twitter.
Okay, that's awesome. Thank you so much.
Oh,
Jake.
listen to my podcast too. It's Pod Damn America.
Yeah.
Right on.
Wonderful.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jake. It was a pleasure.
I've got to run.
Yeah, thanks for
Hunter
having me. I
Schafer
really
has just-
needed to talk about Euphoria a lot, so thanks for giving me the mic.
Yeah, no, it was great. Sorry, Taylor, what?
I have to run. Hunter Schafer has just asked me to keep her company while she bathes.
Okay. Take care, listeners. Bye.
Bye, everybody.